Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Okay, Omarova. We're holding smack in the middle of the Chavdal on the base. Isara and Shechilkoi. Here we go. We have the one mincha made out of one isar and a flour that was divided in two. V'avad echad mehem, and one of them got lost. V'hifrish acher tachtav. So instead of the one, let's say the one on the right got lost, so you went and you put another half of your isar in there. What happens every single time when you do something like that? You find the one that gets lost. It's right after you mafresh the other one, you find it. Remember yesterday we said that if a tefillah yom touches one piece, tefillah yom touches this, what happens? It automatically goes to the other. Why? Because the two are connected because they're from the same mincha. So the kli is able to be mitzaref them and connect them. But what happens if we bring in a third piece from another place? It's not metama the others. Yeah? Even though it's the same kli and the kli is mitzaref, it's not. Why? Because that guy, that third guy, is separate from the other two. It's not the same, it's not from the same mincha. So if we know that, then what happens over here? Now we have three pieces. You have the original, the old guy, he's the original piece. You have the guy that got lost, the guy on the left, he's avod. He got lost, but he's connected to the first one. And then you have the mufresh, he's the new guy. The guy all the way on the right is the new guy. So let's see. If a dead mouse, this mouse is very dead, touches the lost one, who's connected to the lost one, Rabbi? Out of the three, who's connected to the lost? The rich one, the first one. So only the first one becomes tameh because the bowl is only mitama what is connected to it. The mufresh is not tameh. Oops, what just happened? Oh, he threw it in there. I got it. Now, if the mufresh becomes tameh, who is the mufresh connected to? Rishon, only the Rishon. He's not connected to the lost guy. So once again, now what happens if the Rishon gets tameh? Both of them are connected to him. But the problem is, you can't eat any of them. Why? Because he can only be connected to one. He can't be connected to two. So let's see inside. And you found the first one. And all three of them are inside the same bowl. If the lost guy got tameh, so he has a connection to the first mincha, and therefore the first one becomes tameh. Mufresh ein mitzaref, but the other guy that you brought in afterwards, he's not part of them. Nitma mufresh, but what if the new guy became tameh? Mufresh v'rishayin mitzarefin. The one that never was lost, the one with the white beard, the original, he's a partner with the mufresh. Avud, the one that got lost, ein mitzaref, he's not a partner over here. Nitma rishayin, but what if the rishayin got tameh? Shnei mitzarefin. They're both connect. They're both tameh. Forget what I said before. They're both tameh. Abaye says this applies in all three cases. In other words, if the avad, the lost piece, got tameh, then look what happens. The mufresh and the rishon become tameh. Why? My time kulu b'rivnei bikto dahadadi ninu. They're all part of the same house. They all belong to the same family. It's not like the case that we had yesterday where you bring a third piece from outside, it belongs to another mincha. Over here, they all belong to the same mincha. The reason why you made a mufresh, the reason why you brought in another half, was to complete the rishon. So he's part of the mincha also. The avad is certainly part of the mincha. He's the original. So they're all part of the same house. And mele, they're all tameh. Says the Gemara, v'chein le'inyan kmitza. The same idea would apply if you have three parts. One of them you started out with two parts, one got lost. It's the same mincha, half got lost. But start my time. Kulu b'nei bikta da'adadininu because take a look what happened there. You did a kmitza now from that part. You took a little bit of flour out of him. Shiyarav, so the leftover of the avad. V'rishon echam, again, who's the lost guy's partner? The first guy. So Amela, he's able to do the kmitza for him. Mufresh ein nechal, but the avoid and the new guy have no connection. So therefore, you cannot eat from the mufresh. Chamatz min mufresh. If these two are partners, great. Now, if we take kmitza from the mufresh guy, you have to wait like 3 seconds. Now you'll see his head. Okay, you see he has flour. Shiyarov. So now the mufresh and the rishon are partners, and therefore you can eat from those two menachos. Avoid ein nechal, and the last one is not included. Here's what I've said before. If you took kmitza from the first one, shneim ein nechalim, because now they have a connection, and now we don't know where the kmitza belongs to. Since he's the first guy, the guy with the white beard, is connected to both the mufresh and the avod, so it is a good kmitza. But the problem is we don't know where the kmitza goes to. We don't know if it goes to the mufresh or it goes to the nevad. So therefore, you can't eat them. Abaye says it doesn't matter if you did a kmitza from any of the three, you can't eat any of them. Because they're all connected to each other. I view it almost like tsaras, like a husband married to two wives. Like they're all connected to that husband. That Rishon guy, Mazgler Papa, B'Shirayim Didei Mi'anechalim. It seems like that that when you take a kmitza from one, at least that one that you took the kmitza from, you put it on the mizbeach and you could eat it. You could eat the rest of the shirayim. That's what it would seem like. Danko the koimetz the loikarev. There's a sixth of the kmitza that cannot be put on the mizbeach. In other words, a third. Let's view it as a third. If you think about it as a third, I just brought this for, I don't know if he's going to help. Somebody gave this to me at the Shabbaton, and I was scared to. Here, let's say you have 3 pieces. It's not a good idea, but it's not coming apart. It's called sensory sand or something. Anybody have sensory issues here? Here. So now I'm going to do kmitza. I do kmitza with this. This is my kmitza, right? So a third goes for this guy. We'll put it over here. A third for this guy and a third for this guy. Now, one of these guys is no good. One of these guys, let's say this guy is the new guy that you put in. So this third, when I did a kmitza, a third of my kmitza was for him. Third was for him, third was for him. It's really a third. You want to cut it in half and give another sixth to each one, so call it a sixth. The point is, it's a third. This third of my kmitza, which belongs half to him and half to him, the Gemara calls it a sixth for a second, but we could call it a third just to understand it. It's really a third. A third belongs to this guy. This guy right over here is no good. And when you put this part on the mizbeach, it's not a good kmitza. Now you have a half, you have a third missing from. This is your kmitza now. This third over here is terrible. It really belongs to a no good guy. Ask the Gemara. And now the same question. How in the world do you put this on the mizbeach when 1/3 belongs to a chulin, to something that's not supposed to be on the mizbeach? The Gemara calls it a third, not a sixth. Rav Ashi Omar says, Rav Ashi, when the kohen went like this and he made a kmitza, when he took a kmitza from whatever it is, his mind is that it should be only on the good stuff. So never, he doesn't have in his hand any bad mincha. Comments. He's only thinking about the 2 parts that are good, the fully sorry. Nidma koimetz v'krivoi. If the kmitza became tamei, yeah, the kmitza, a dead mouse touched the kmitza, and you put it onto the mizbeach, we have a very special pasuk in the Torah that tells us that even though it's tamei, it's okay. We ignore it. Why? Because there's something called the tzitz that the Kohen Gadol wears on his forehead. It says Kodesh Hashem, not exactly like it says it over here. It might, one is above the other. It might be a kitzer, something like this. And this has special powers. It has powers, supernatural powers that could overcome even tumah. How do we know? Because the Torah says that the tzitz could forgive an avera, but it doesn't say what the avera is. It could be, the avera could be one of these things. There's so many averas. One of them is tumah, that the Mishnah says that that's what the tzitz meratza. But it could be also chutz m'koimah, chutz zmanai, pigel, thoughts of chutz zman, yoitza. If it goes outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's also an avera. If you do the avera with your left hand instead of the right hand, maybe the tzitz forgives that avera. Who told you that it's going to forgive the tumah? Maybe you put an animal that has a mum. So that's what Amud Aleph is all about, to prove that it's the tumah. Yotza b'krivai, if you took the mincha outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Oh, we have a gewaldige video for this. If you have a mincha that's tummy, take a look. It's tummy. This kohen is putting a mincha that's tummy on the mizbeach. So what happens is the kohen gadol has it sits, and has superpowers, and it makes the mincha tar. That's what it does. But if he went outside of the Beis Hamikdash and came back in, then the tzitz doesn't work. Why? And here's the klal shatzitz miratz al tami. Tzitz has powers against tumah. Ve'eratz al yoytze doesn't help for yoytze. Now we have to do a process of elimination. We have all these averis that it could forgive, and we have to know why it doesn't forgive these things. What is the pasuk talking about? What avera are we talking about? Now, the entire Zvachim, we learned that pigul means chutz l'zmanim. Yet the Torah calls pigul chutz l'makom. The Gemara over here is using that for whatever reason. The Gemara calls this. It doesn't matter really. The point is, he had a bad thought while he was performing the avodah. He was thinking about eating it outside of the Beis Hamikdash in certain situations. If it's a kachim kalam outside of Yerushalayim. But that already says, Arik v'anemer lo yechashev. There's nothing you can do about it. Here, he had a thought while he's doing the avodah, he's thinking of machshav of pigul. It's bad. The tzitz is not going to help you. Why? It's trying to work. Lo yechashev. The Torah says it's God. It's finished. So tzitz doesn't work in this case. In time avoy noisar. Now avoy noisar over here, interesting, is considered, Rashi calls it chutz zman. Tosfos has a whole discussion how to learn it. Also, we go with Rashi. Rashi says noisar means chutz zman. Regardless, it doesn't matter what the Gemara uses, what term the Gemara is using. The point is, there's a machshava over here that's no good. Maybe that's what the tzitz comes to help. Oh, now if it's about chutz zman, it says lo yirotza. Here, avoy noisar. Lo yirotza. Fine. So it must be, if it can't be these two machshavas, the machshavas chutz zman, machshavas chutz l'makom, so the tzitz comes to forgive tumah. But why? I'll tell you why. If you have one of the three, it makes more sense to say that the Torah is talking about tumah. Why? Shohotra miklala b'tzibur. We know that occasionally, if there's tumah in Klal Yisrael, and the only way to bring the carbon tamid or carbon pesach, Rashi says carbon tamid, is when there's tumah, so it's mutter for the community. For the community, so you see that the Torah is lenient when it comes to tumah. The Torah is more makel. The Torah is never makel on pigul, on chutz zman, chutz l'makom, never. The Torah sometimes is makel on tumah. Oh, so if it's a lighter kind of aveira, so the tzitz is going to be mechaper. Masculine Reb Zera. Ema von yoytze. Look in Tosfos. Ema von yoytze. We have more on the list. The avera of taking out a carbon outside the Beis Hamikdash. Going like this, just walking outside the Beis Hamikdash, immediately turns red. He's outside the Beis Hamikdash. Why it does not? Now you're going to tell me that, well, if you have the two, you're going to go with tumah. Why? Because tumah hutra b'tzibur. Because tumah has a lighter avera, because sometimes it's mutter. I'll tell you so. The same thing with the yotzei. If you take certain times and periods in Klal Yisrael, we had bamas in the backyard, and we would check the animals in the backyard. So you see that sometimes it's mutter, just like sometimes tumah is mutter, sometimes the bama is mutter outside. This comes to forgive something that happened. The tzitz forgives for something that happened in front of Hashem. That the psul could happen in front of Hashem. The tumah could happen in front of Hashem. But the aver of Yaitz is when you're not in front of Hashem, when you leave the Beis Hamikdash. Maybe it's coming to refer the aver of doing with the left hand instead of the right hand. Why? Take a look at this. Beautiful for today. Special. On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol holds with his right hand the heavy coals. We want him to hold it with the right hand, even though he should really be holding. What is he holding in the left? The Ketores. It should be the opposite. The avoid is the Ketores. He should be holding with the right hand, but the coals are dangerous and heavy, so he put it in his main in his dominant hand. But you see that you can use your left hand for the Ketores on Yom Kippur. So it's Sudim Klalai. It was an Aveira, and I pushed it off. I said, this Tumah today, but not today. That same Tumah was a Tumah yesterday. Today, even though it looks like Tumah, it's not. This is the way to do it. This is the way I command you to do it. Today, it's not just mutter, it's l'chatchila. That's how you do it. Vashi Omar. You're asking me, perhaps it's coming to say, if a kohen did it with his left hand, it's okay. That's in the kohen. We're talking about an aveira that's in the carbon. The tumah is in the carbon, not in the kohen. That's what's mutter to put on the mizbech. And this is an aveira of kohanim. Rav Simi, the son of Rav Idi, Rav Sima, the son of Rav Idi, told Rav Ashi. And some say Rav Sima. Bereder Rav Ashi. The Rav Ashi had a son, his name was Rav Sima, and they had a discussion, father and son, the Rav Ashi. The son asked his father, Rav Ashi. We have one more on the list, and that is, if an animal has a blemish, that's the last one on the list, you're not allowed to put it on the Mizbeach. But it's not similar to Tumah, because Tumah is Hutum Klali, once in a while Tumah is Mutter. No, this also is Mutter. Shutum Klali Ba'ifais. Birds don't have a mum. There's no such thing as about mum animal. If an animal has if a bird has a broken leg, you can put it on the mizbeach. There's no such thing as a male female by birds. Very nice. It's a nice try. It says mefurish on a balmum. You cannot bring a balmum. There is no tzitz that's going to be mechaper when the Torah says straight out, don't bring it. If you bring it, it's not going to work. Nu sugi Rabbi Yisai. Dam shenitma uzrakoi. A dead mouse, a sheretz, touched it, and he did zrika with it. B'shoigeg hurtza, b'mezid loy hurtza. Midiraisa, it works. Why? Because you have tumah over here, and the tzitz is miratza tumah, so it works. Just what? If you do it deliberately, b'mezid loy hurtza. Why? What is that called, Rabbi Yisai? A knas. It's a penalty. Midiraisa should work. It's good to remember this because we're going to be talking about penalties. Try to compare it to something else that has a penalty. That's an individual. There's no such thing as a penalty to the community. So even if they do it deliberately, it works because l'maisa it works. It should work by a yachid also. We punish the yachid. You have a guy. It doesn't matter how he did it. Loy hurtza. The guy doesn't get a kapara. End the story. But here's the problem. We just said that an individual doesn't get a kapara if he uses blood that's tamei, if he does it on purpose. But over here it says mefurish. Amatz miratza aladam alabasar alachelev. Chelev over here means the parts that we put on the mizbeach, the emurim shenitma. And look at this. Bein b'shoigig, bein b'mezid, even if it's on purpose. Bein ba'oines, bein b'ratzain, bein b'yachid, bein b'yachid. Here, it says even a yachid. Bein tzibur, here it is. Just ha'ara, which always bothers me throughout Shas, but Rashi here addresses it. It says shoigig and mezid, oines and ratzain. Shoigig means by mistake, mezid means on purpose, deliberate. Oinus means you were forced. Ratzon means you did it on purpose. So in fact, Mezid and Ratzon are identical. There's no reason to say the word Ratzon. So Rashi says you're right. But because the opposite of Shoigig is Mezid, the opposite of Oinus is Ratzon. But the Mezid and Ratzon are the same. Shoigig and Oinus are very different. Shoigig means I didn't know that you're not allowed to do it. Oinus means somebody put a gun to your head. You were forced to do it. So Shoigig and Oinus are very different. Shoigig and Mezid are very different. The one out of the four is really extra, doesn't belong, but to be symmetric, to Shoigig and Mezid, Oinus and Ratzon. Okay, just throwing it out there. So, this is today's sugya, maybe even a little bit of tomorrow if we're not successful in finishing today's Amud. What do we have here? We have two brises, and there's a contradiction in the brisa. Brisa number one says, tzitz is not meratza when an individual does it on purpose. The tzitz does not work if you do it on purpose for an individual. Brisa number one says the exact opposite. Tzitz does work for an individual that does it on purpose. Answer number one, it goes according to two different shitas. The brisa says no good goes according to Rabbanan. The brisa says yes good goes according to Rabbi Yossi. What we're going to do right now, it's going to take us let's just do it let's start it. Now I'll tell you what we're going to do. Simple stuff though. Omar Rabbi Yosef, 4 lines down, like Kashya. Ha Rabbi Yossi, brisa number 2 is Rabbi Yossi, ha Rabbanan. This is on you because it says, Ein tarmim min atami al atar. You're not allowed to take truma. If a person has, let's say, 100 apples, he has to give 2 of them to a kohen. So he's a wise guy. He takes the 2 apples that the dead mouse touched, and he gives them to the kohen. No good. Why? Because he just hurt the kohen. The kohen he can't eat it. And what he's going to do? He's going to sell it for really cheap, so you hurt the kohen. V'im taram. Well, if he went ahead and he did it anyways, b'shoigeg trumas and truma, b'mezid and trumas and truma. This is very similar to our sugya. You shouldn't do it, but if you did it on purpose, doesn't work. Again, why doesn't it work here by truma? Because it's a knas, it's a penalty. It does work midayraisa. So if he did it by mistake, the truma is a truma, and if he did it on purpose, not a truma. That literally mimics our sugya right over here. That if you have tzitz biyachid, if you did it on purpose, miratza, you do get a kapara even if you did it on purpose. The truma does work even though you shouldn't have given it and it's tameh, you shouldn't have done it like that. It works. That's Rabbi Yossi. As the Gemara, it's one thing to say you don't get a penalty, but to say that the tzitz is so powerful that you could eat it, that's already far-fetched. To say that the tzitz is so powerful that you could actually eat it, it's one thing to say that there's no knas, but to say that you can go ahead and eat it, but it's more than that. It says Rebbe Eliezer is the one that says that tzitz is powerful, you could even actually eat it, and Rebbe Yossi, who we're talking about, it literally doesn't work. Where is that? Here. Look at this thing right over here. The typical, we do this all the time. The one on the left. Ein tzitz miratz al achila goes according to. You just told me Rabbi Yossi is the one that says there's no penalty, there's no problem, the tzitz is great. So what do? So it's very simple what you do. You flip it around. Rabbi Yossi is the one that says the tzitz is miratz. Okay, so that's a little bit of a tchak. Abel. We got to do a switcheroo. So now the Gemara is going to do 25 lines. I counted 25 lines to prove that you can't flip it. That Rabbi Yossi cannot say tzitz miratz al achila. It's actually Rabbi Eliezer that says tzitz miratz al achila. So just to get to the you have to just remember, what are we trying to achieve here? We're trying to achieve one thing, to prove that Rabbi Eliezer, that it lines up like this. Tzitz miratz al achila is Rabbi Eliezer. Not, you're trying to do a switcheroo, a very nice try, but it doesn't work. Mascular of Sheshus. How could you flip it around? You have meat that became tamei and you ate it before the zrika. What's before zrika? Zrika allows the kohen to eat the meat. If it was before zrika, you weren't allowed to eat it then. I would think you chayavam aleim. Maybe you should get kares mishum tuma. The kohen himself was tamei, so you should get kares for eating it. You don't get kares for that. Why? Because it's not edible. There's no zrika yet. When you get kares. Hanitra l'tahirim, if it's okay for a kohen to eat it, chayam al mishum tuma. Then if you're a kohen that's tamei, you ate it, then you get kares. V'sheinin nitra l'tahirim, but if it's a meat that was never able to be eaten by anyone, why? Because there's no zrika yet, and chayam al mishum tuma. Great. Okay, so that's one thing. Says the Gemara, maybe it's coming to say that somebody else doesn't get kares. Maybe you should get kares. Perhaps it's coming to exclude meat that was left overnight and meat that went out of the Beis Hamikdash, that a tar person, in other words, if a tar person eats it, he'll be potter. Asher Lashem. It's extra. Riba, that you're chayiv kares. Lon and yaitze, if you eat it, chayiv kares. Maybe if somebody who's tamei, who eats pigul and noisar, he should be chayiv kares. And the Gemara just pauses for a second, goes off track, just to fix this sentence. Noisar is hainu lon. What do you mean, noisar? We just spoke about lon, and we said lon, you're chayiv. Now you tell me, maybe noisar, but we just discussed lon. Lon and noisar are the same. You're right, okay, fine. Ella ava begulum kenoisaris. People should be like noisar. Akalpanim, we're going back into line now. The Torah says if you eat pigul and you're tamei, you don't get kares. Why did you decide? You have two things in front of you. You have yaitz and lon that we said you get kares. You have pigul that you say you don't get kares. Maybe do a switch. Who told you? Maybe pigul you should get kares and yaitz and lon you shouldn't. So the Gemara, because it's logic. Because the Torah at the end of the day said one is chayiv kares and one is not. Amris. Now let's think what makes more sense. Lon and yaitze were once upon a time good. 5 hours into their lives, somebody took it out of the Beis Hamikdash. It became yaitze. 5 hours into their life, it went overnight. But for 5 hours, it was good. Pigul happened during the avodah. Not for one moment of its lifetime was it kosher. This case that we had, that the meat became tamei even before zrika. Bomb question. How could you give him kares? It never had a shasa kosher. You hear the question? We just said something that never, the moment it was born, it was already bad. You don't get kares. No. So this piece of meat that he ate when he was tamei before zrika, it was never okay to eat. So it never had a shasa kosher. How could you get kares for it? Oh, b'nei shatzitz meratza. Because the tzitz gives you an out over here. The tzitz makes it as if it's completely kosher. The tzitz is meratza. Agapadim nitma in yaitzelai. So it comes out that if it becomes tamei, you do get kares, and if it goes outside before zrika, you don't get kares. Oh, finally, here we get to the raya. This is Rebbe Eliezer. It's Rebbe Eliezer. Let's look at the chart again. We have to go back. It's Rebbe Eliezer that lines up with tzitz meratz and achila, and not Rebbe Yosi. And finally, so the Gemara says, let's just do one. Okay, so in fact, it is Rebbe Eliezer. So instead of saying, what was our problem? The problem is we have a contradiction in the Brises. Not a contradiction. The Brisa that says that tzitz is not meratz, it goes according to Rabbanon. The Brisa that says it is meratz, it goes according to Rebbe Eliezer. And not Rabbi Yossi. And not Rabbi Yossi. We got rid of Rabbi Yossi. It's a whole other terrace. There's 25 lines to prove it's not Rabbi Yossi, it's Rebbe Eliezer. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.